Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squad for boxing news and views from around the internet. Matchroom has scooped up another international heavyweight, signing Zhilei Zhang on a co-promotional deal Eddie Hearn has confirmed. So Zhang is 35, out of China, currently 20-0 with 16 KOs. He's been pro since 2014, a former Olympic silver medalist, won silver at the Beijing Games, the same games that Deontay Wilder got bronze at. So he does have some pedigree in terms of his amateur background, decent skills, decent puncher in terms of power, good body puncher, a bit open defensively, but all in all, he's an okay, heavyweight, but we just don't know how good he is because since he turned pro in 2014, he's risen through some other levels, but the last couple of years, he's kind of got stuck. So there's been an ongoing slew of journeymen that Zhilei Zhang has faced, and he's been relatively inactive, and he hasn't had the opponents that he really should have stepped through by now. So journeyman Don Hainsworth was his last opponent, Byron Paul Lee, Nick Cuevas, Curtis Harper, a number of notable journeymen who go around the circuit. They've mostly all been knocked out early in the fights with Zhang. But this is a good sign for him in his career and for Matchroom with all the cards that they are now running, because remember, it's not only the UK shows now, they also have the United States shows with DAZN. There's 50 fight nights a year that they're sort of putting on and all that sort of stuff. They have cards that they need to fill, and they need guys that are not necessarily at the top tier. And especially if you look at DAZN in the United States, it had been a little bit thin on the ground in terms of its heavyweight stocks. You had Nikosi Solomon, Jarrell Miller. More recently, they've signed Filip Hrgović on a co-promotional deal. They've signed Alexander Usyk, so him and Hrgović likely to be fighting in the UK and also in the United States. And it looks like Zhang will be doing a bit of both as well. So Eddie Hearn confirmed that he will be fighting on April 20th at that card at the O2, so that's already stacked with a few heavyweight fights. Dave Allen, Lucas Brown headlining that one, along with Derek Chisora and Senad Gashi. So Zhang likely to be facing Tom Little. That's not quite locked in, but it looks like it's quite probable from what Eddie Hearn is saying. But official announcements, details to come, and that will be coming out in the next few days. But he was asked about Zhang and Tom Little, and was Zhang the new signing, and he has confirmed, yes, he is the guy that we've just signed. We're working with Rock Nation here. And it's actually not Zhang's first run-in with Matchroom. There was some involvement previously. He was due to face Alexander Ustinov back in November, but then he had visa issues, and that allowed Michael Hunter to step in at late notice, and we all know what happened there. Hunter ran through Alexander Ustinov, and at the time I did a video and I sort of said that this was going to be a good opportunity for Zhilei Zhang to sort of shake off some of the career issues that he has had, the sort of malaise within his career, make a bit of a statement, get a bit more exposure, especially in the Western media, and he could have done that through a good knockout of Ustinov, but he was robbed of that when visa issues prevented him late in the piece taking that fight. And Michael Hunter steps in, and that was a month or so after having beaten Martin Bakole, and he got another knockout in that one, and that's one of the fights that has helped propel Michael Hunter in his career. So boxing is a very much what have you done for me lately sport, and Zhilei Zhang is sort of fallen behind in those stakes and not necessarily rated that highly by boxing fans in general. And he's 35 now, so he kind of has to get a move on, but he's a big 6'6" southpaw, decent skills, good body punch, as I mentioned earlier, and I actually don't mind the signing for Matchroom. I mean, there's been some speculation that potentially, could this lead to a fight at the Bird's Nest Stadium in China at some point? I'm a little bit more skeptical of that because the dance card for Anthony Joshua is so stacked at the moment, lining up with mandatories, let alone an undisputed fight. By the time that would happen, it would be, 2021, 2022, and by then, Zhilei Zhang might be a spent force. He is 35 after all, soon to be 36 in August. So yeah, I just don't know if he can do enough to ever get a fight like that. But having him fight on the world stage more broadly can increase his profile in China at least, because from what I understand from different people that I've spoken to who either live in China or know of Zhang and sort of living in the area, that he's not exactly a well-known or household name as some would have you believe in China. There is some name recognition, but you know, most people on the street have no idea who the guy is. So this is one of these things where if he can get some exposure internationally, get some decent fights under his belt, with Tom Little being a start, well then that's good for him, and potentially who knows what could happen, because Matchroom is looking to potentially expand into somewhere like China. Barry Hearn has spoken of this before, wanting to break into that market. He thinks there's money to be made there. He would like to stage some big fights in China, and there could be some untapped potential there that could be met. So we'll have to see what happens there, but he needs to get past Tom Little if they make that fight. It's a bit of a gauge because Tom Little, he is a sort of higher level journeyman, but if Zhang has anything about him, he would beat him handily enough and get on to the next one. But with all the fight cards that Matchroom has in the US, the UK, and they have been opening up other offices in different places within Europe, they need to fill these cards with fighters, and especially if they're going to keep making a big play in the heavyweight division, because it's kind of like keeping up with the Joneses at the moment. You have a lot of money in the heavyweight division, a lot of co-promotional deals are being done. We've recently seen Filip Hrgović, Alexander Usyk joining forces with Matchroom through their various promoters. You've got Jarrell Miller, he's co-promoted. There's a number of guys that have been coming into the Matchroom stable, but more generally we've seen what's happening with Top Rank, signing Tyson Fury, signing Kubrat Pulev. Obviously PBC has its own strong stable of heavyweights, so it's kind of a bit of an arms race within the heavyweight division. And with all the cards, all the money that's floating around right now, trying to sort of snaffle up some of these guys who've, one, got unbeaten records, but two, potentially could do something in the division with the right guiding, the right promotion. It makes sense to be snapping some of these guys up, especially with all the cards and the money that's on offer right now. So I like this signing, and I think, you know, he has been a bit under-promoted by Rock Nation. The matchmaking hasn't been great. He's kind of just drifted a bit in his career more recently. Hasn't had those step-up fights, even though, you know, he's 35 now. He, you know, the Olympics was all the way back in 2008 where he won that silver medal. He's never really quite progressed to the level that some thought he could get to, but maybe he has a chance to do something before, you know, it's all said and done. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.